In the late 19th century, the American West was not just a rugged landscape. It was a proving ground where your survival was dictated by the specialized tools you carried. For the frontier laborer, these weren't just items in a pack, but a mobile life support system designed to combat geographic isolation and extreme climatic volatility. From the arid thirst traps of New Mexico to the lethal blue northers that brought sub-zero blizzards, every implement was a primary arbiter between life and death. Building a functional outfit was a massive financial burden, often costing a common hand several months or even a full year's wages. This economic pressure meant that only the most versatile and durable gear was maintained, creating a suite of tools that represented the very pinnacle of 19th century fieldcraft. Today, we are looking at the real gear of the Old West, the items that actually won the frontier, and the surprising reasons why some of them could get you killed just for owning them. The most significant innovation in frontier weaponry was the adoption of the logistic pair, consisting of a Winchester model 1873 rifle and a Colt single-action Army revolver. Introduced in 1873, the Winchester was marketed as the gun that won the West because it utilized a reliable centerfire cartridge known as the .4440 Winchester center fire. By 1878, Colt began chambering their famous Frontier six-shooter to accept these same rounds, allowing a cowboy to carry a single belt of ammunition for both his primary and secondary weapons. This was a life-saving advantage when a man was hundreds of miles from the nearest supply depot. Survival scenarios for these firearms were rarely about Hollywood-style duels. Instead, they were logistical tools used to stop stampedes. In a crisis, cowboys would ride to the head of a charging herd and fire into the air or, in desperate moments, shoot the lead animals to create a physical barrier of carcasses that forced the herd to turn. The reliability of centerfire ignition over older rimfire models was crucial in damp trail conditions, where a single misfire could lead to a man being trampled to death. Hypothermia was a more frequent killer on the range than lead, making the Fish brand pommel slicker the industry standard for weather protection after its development in 1881. Constructed from cotton muslin treated with multiple coats of linseed oil, the garment provided a waterproof barrier, but carried a distinct, pungent, aromatic fish smell, hence its famous moniker. The 1885 improved model was specifically engineered for survival while mounted, featuring a pommel split and a wide gusset that allowed the coat to cover the rider, the entire saddle, and the horse's loins. This design kept the horse's back dry to prevent painful saddle sores and ensured the rider's seat remained warm during long, grueling watches. In the catastrophic Big Die-Up of 1886, temperatures dropped to 30 degrees below zero, and cowboys caught in sudden blue northers relied on these slickers as a vital windbreak. Because the linseed-oiled fabric did not crack in the cold or stick together in the heat, it was far superior to earlier rubberized garments, making it a premium investment for any serious frontiersman. The lariat, derived from the Spanish lariata, was the cowboy's most versatile tool and functioned essentially as an extension of his own arm. Early lariats were braided from 4 to 8 strands of rawhide, a material favored by Spanish vaqueros and adopted by Native American horsemen. Rawhide was technically superior to the hemp or manila ropes of the era because it could be worked to a high degree of suppleness and incredible strength. However, it required constant, meticulous maintenance, involving frequent applications of beef tallow or kidney fat to prevent the sun from making it brittle or the rain from causing it to rot. Beyond its obvious use in catching cattle, the lariat was essential for crossing the dangerous terrain of the West. During the 1866 drive recorded by George C. Duffield, ropes were used to construct rafts and haul entire wagons across the flooded Brazos River. Without the lariat, the safe crossing of livestock in high water or the recovery of lost gear was simply impossible. Native American groups, particularly the Comanche, were recognized as masters of this tool, often using rawhide thongs to secure their horses or hunt buffalo with deadly precision. The introduction of Joseph Glidden's barbed wire in 1874 signaled the death of the open range, but it birthed a new survival tool, the fencing plier. The Utica-style fencing pliers, forged from high-carbon steel, became the standard in the late 1880s for line riders who had to maintain thousands of miles of wire. These tools featured a heavy, rounded nose for twisting wire, a side cutter for snipping double-strand barbed wire, and a hook for pulling staples. During the fence-cutting wars of 1883 to 1888, the plier became a tool of both protest and survival, used by landless stockmen to reclaim access to public water sources that had been illegally fenced off by cattle barons. The stakes were highest during the winter of 1885 to 86, when drift fences built across the Panhandle prevented cattle from migrating south to escape lethal storms. Thousands of animals died against these barriers, piling up in the cold. Cowboys equipped with pliers were often the only hope for these herds, as they could cut gaps in the wire to allow the animals to move to lower, warmer ground, effectively saving the ranching industry from total collapse. Dehydration in the arid Southwest was a constant, silent threat, particularly on routes like the 90-mile waterless stretch in New Mexico known as the Jornada del Muerto, or Dead Man's Journey. The cowboy's canteen was his primary defense against this adversary. While several types existed, including wooden drum canteens made of cedar or oak staves and natural gourds, the bullseye pattern tin canteen became a staple by the 1870s due to its durability. Wooden canteens remained popular, however, because the staves would swell when wet to create a watertight seal, and the slight evaporation through the wood kept the water cooler. The psychological and physical terror of losing one's water supply is well documented in primary source accounts. In the 1670s, the trader Bernardo Gruber perished after his servant's water gourd broke during a desperate ride for a spring, leaving him just 5 miles from water. This highlights the transition to more durable technologies. A breakable gourd was a liability, whereas a felt-covered tin canteen or a reinforced wooden bottle could mean the difference between reaching a spring and perishing in the sun. The branding iron was not merely a tool for marking property. It functioned as the frontier's primary legal document. In an era without fences, ownership was proven entirely by the mark of the iron, and because rustling was considered a capital crime, the iron served as a vital deterrent. Blacksmiths forged these irons from wrought iron in complex designs, often described as crazy, lazy, or running, to make them as difficult as possible for rustlers to alter. However, the running iron, a simple straight rod with a curve at the end, was particularly controversial. While useful for legitimate marking, it was the preferred tool of thieves who used it like a pen to overbrand or change an existing mark. Consequently, possession of a running iron on the open range was often considered prima facie evidence of intent to steal. Many men were executed on the spot by vigilante groups or stock associations for this offense without a warrant or trial. The branding iron thus represented the very thin line between legal ranching and criminal execution on the lawless prairie. Perhaps the most cost-effective survival tool in the cowboy's kit was the bandana. Usually made of cotton or silk, its primary survival function was as a dust mask to prevent dust pneumonia, a significant occupational hazard caused by the inhalation of fine silt and alkaline dust during cattle drives. The versatility of this simple cloth is documented across nearly 30 different survival uses. Medically, it could be used as a tourniquet, a sling, or a bandage for trail injuries. For water safety, it could strain sediment or insects from stagnant water before boiling. In survival situations, a cotton bandana could be charred to create char cloth for catching sparks from flint and steel to start a fire. It even served as a signal device, using brightly colored cloth to alert others after a fall or during a storm. In extreme blizzards, cowboys would even use their bandanas to tie their bedroll tarps directly to their bodies, creating a crude, waterproof survival suit that allowed them to stay mobile while avoiding freezing to death. The bedroll was a cowboy's only home for months on end, consisting of wool blankets encased in a heavy 15 to 18-ounce canvas tarp. This tarp was often treated with wax or oil to make it waterproof or impregnated. Inside the bedroll, a cowboy stored his most precious survival items, spare ammunition, family letters, and dry clothing. During the brutal winter of 1886, the bedroll was the only barrier against the lethal winds. The canvas shell acted as a bivvy, trapping body heat and preventing the wool blankets from absorbing moisture from the snow, which would have led to a rapid death from exposure. A man who lost his bedroll during a stampede or a dangerous river crossing was essentially set adrift and faced a high probability of death. The high relative value of these textiles is seen in 1872 prices, where a high-quality wool blanket cost the same as a gentleman's toilet set, emphasizing that survival gear was prioritized over luxury. Your entire life was effectively contained in that 6-foot roll of canvas. Developed in Mexico from the Spanish equestrian tradition, chaps, short for chaparreras, were protective leather leggings designed to shield the legs from chaparral, the dense, thorny brush of the Southwest. Contrary to common Hollywood depictions, chaps were primarily for brush and weather protection rather than snake bites, although heavy leather did provide a secondary barrier against venomous strikes. By the 1870s, different styles emerged to suit specific climates. The shotgun style was favored in the North for its ability to trap body heat, while the batwing style allowed for better air circulation in the hot Texas sun. The use of woolies, chaps made from Angora goat hide, became a life-saving fashion in the northern plains, providing unparalleled insulation during sub-zero night watches. These garments allowed cowboys to push through terrain that would have shredded normal trousers and protected them from the constant abrasions and environmental stressors of the trail. The saddle was the cowboy's mobile workstation, and the spurs were his primary means of precision communication with his horse. The Western saddle, influenced by Spanish and Native American designs, featured a horn for dallying a rope and a deep cantle for rider stability during violent animal movements. Native American horsemanship, particularly among the Comanche and Apache, emphasized training through partnership and trust rather than the European method of breaking a horse's spirit. This created a more reliable animal in life or death situations, such as navigating a metabolic bomb of a blizzard or a stampede. Spurs were not used for punishment but served as signal devices. Large, blunt rowel spurs allowed a cowboy to give subtle cues to his horse, while his hands were busy with a lariat or a rifle. This interface of control was the final piece of the survival puzzle, ensuring that the man and his horse functioned as a single, coordinated unit capable of enduring the harshest conditions on the American frontier. Which of these 10 essential cowboy tools do you think would be the most difficult to live without if you were stranded on the open range today? Let me know in the comments below.